For the first time in 2025, the Carolina Hurricanes get a dub as they get the 3-1 revenge win over the Florida Panthers. In a game that can be only uttered as controlled chaos, what stood out in the Hurricanes win on Thursday night?
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I'm also the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Winning Friday episode for you guys as we get to recap the Hurricanes' 3-1 win over the Florida Panthers to kick off 2025. What stood out in the, as Trip Tracy called it, a controlled chaos type of game, and we also get to listen to Rod Brind'Amour post-game as well. But before we jump into all of that, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, before we jump into the game, there was a NHL debut tonight for the Hurricanes as Juha Jääskä made his debut for the Hurricanes tonight. The 26-year-old Finn signed with the Hurricanes earlier this summer and has been playing pretty well down there in Chicago with the Wolves. 7 goals, 9 assists for 16 points. More than well-deserved to get up there. And, Rod Brind'Amour said, he loved his game in preseason. His hard work has been really showing off down there in Chicago and is more than got the opportunity to come up and play for the Hurricanes. And honestly, he played pretty well, all things considered. Not a lot of ice time, pretty decent amount, but I thought you could definitely tell there was a lot of hustle to his game. Actually, at one point in the third period, did a really great, strong forecheck to break up a pass that, Sergei Bobrovsky tried to move on. But, honestly, not a bad game from Juha Jääskä in his first game with the Carolina Hurricanes. And what a game to enter, too, because it was just, you could definitely tell there was a playoff-like atmosphere between these two teams because they do not like each other. And you can just tell that this was going to be a physical game. As the Hurricanes out-hit the Panthers 34-28. I'm saying this now, ever since the New Jersey game, the Hurricanes have been playing a pretty physical hockey. Not really backing down from anyone, getting into scuffles, getting in other guys' faces. I think we're seeing a very upset and chipping, like a chip on your shoulder type from the Hurricanes, because we've been kind of asking to see this team kind of get upset and, get it, a little bit physical. And man, they've been throwing hits. They've been getting in guys' faces. I feel like that game against the Devils on December 28th at home for the last home game of 24, you're starting to see a very angry Canes team who's not afraid to throw the body around. That was pretty evident in this game. But how about a hot start by the Canes? Because they got 40 shots in the game. They outshot Florida 16-6 in the first, 16-9 in the second, but did get outshot 11-8 in the third. But honestly, 40-26. What more can you ask for the Hurricanes? They came out flying on the shots. They came out just ready to throw bodies at almost everyone. This was probably a really dominant physical game, a total team effort by the Hurricanes overall. And how about Brent Burns kicking this thing off 35 seconds into the game with an assist by Jacob Slavin and Seth Jarvis, just getting a puck in the end wall, throwing it on net. And you know what they say, if you throw on net, good things will happen. And lo and behold, he beats Sergei Bobrovsky. Hurricanes are up 1-0. Finish out the first period up. You love to see it. Overall, great play by them. You can definitely tell that they were out there ready for the jump. 16-6. In the first period in terms of shots, they came out to play in that period. And same thing for the second too. They came up pretty strong. Unfortunately, Anton Liddell did tie the game at 2:17. Possible missed high stick, but it was probably through a follow through. That's why it wasn't called. Unfortunately, just a defensive breakdown. Saw a lot of Hurricanes players on one side of the net. Florida had two guys in front. And then Lundell scores, ties it 1-1. And that was pretty much the only goal for that period as well. As you know, the second period saw the Hurricanes outshoot the Panthers 16-9. And then utter chaos in the third period. You can definitely tell there's a lot more why-I-oughtas in terms of scrums. You can definitely tell these, like I said, going back from the Eastern Conference Final 2023, these teams do not like each other. There was a lot of post-whistle, pleasantries given of, New Year's resolutions, maybe trying some recipes and stuff like that. But you can definitely tell these guys were not afraid to jaw at each other. That's good from the Hurricanes, the fact that they didn't really back down from it. And probably one of the most insane sequences I've seen in a long time. Jesperi Kotkaniemi's crashed in the net, blows a tire, accidentally knocks into Sergei Bobrovsky. Nothing really intentionally, just blew a tire, went right into him. Unfortunate things happen. And then for whatever reason, Matthew Tkachuk decided to hold Jesperi Kotkaniemi down in the goal, which makes no sense. And honestly, good on the referee, too, for kind of just being right there. See that Tkachuk is basically holding on to Kotkaniemi, almost kneeling on him, too, at one point. And then he wants to try to look back at the ref and then still holds him. And in the ensuing chaos, Jacob Slavin, right place, right time, shoots it in the net. Ref calls it a good, he says it's a goal. They kind of go to review it, but the referees right away are saying, no, 19 from the Panthers and Tkachuk held the Hurricanes player in the crease, wouldn't let him get up, so it's going to be a good goal. And it's funny how the Florida Panthers admins are acting like, well, apparently the goal counted for them. Well, it's like, yeah, you can't really have a guy kneel/hold like the opposing player in the crease. If you're not going to let him get up, then that's not goalie interference because you literally held him in the crease. If you block your own goalie by doing that, that's kind of on you. So, yeah, it's a good goal. And then in the end, Jacob Slavin gets the second of the season, ends up being the game winner. Second C stands for clutch, and luckily Jesperi Kotkaniemi got the assist as he should. I mean, the puck was never covered by Bobrovsky. There was no whistle. Everyone kept playing. Slavin got the puck on the net and scored. Nothing you can do when you got Matthew Tkachuk basically holding an opposing player in the crease, blocking your own goalie. I just don't see how you call that goaltender interference. And Rod even said it after the game too. It's like, what do you want our guys to do? Like, what's Jesperi Kotkaniemi supposed to do when he's literally getting kneeled on and held in the crease? Like, you got the guy up, and luckily the refs were smart to be like, no, that's good. Not goaltender interference. There's nothing you can do. And even the Panthers didn't even challenge it because there's nothing to challenge. And then luckily with less than a minute left, Martin Necas deflects the puck in from, Andrei Svechnikov to score his 15th of the season, ices the game 3-1 for the Hurricanes, and they get their first dub of the season. And like I said, overall, great total team effort, 40 shots on goal, out-hit the Panthers. I mean, what more can you really ask out of that, too? And talk about for the fact that you had Brent Burns and Jacob Slavin, both deep pair guys, on the same defensive pairing, both score a goal. Martin Necas gets his 15th of the season. And also goes we also got to talk about for the fact that how about Pierre Kochetkov, an absolute gamer, comes in, big save after big save. You're not seeing a lot of shots. You saw 6 in the first period, from the Panthers. Then you see 9 in the second. So you're only talking like 15 shots through 2 periods. You're trying to stay in the game because it's, what are you supposed to do when you see the other guy on the other end making huge saves and he's seeing 31 shots, you're only seeing 15. But, as Tracy said on the broadcast, it's mental warfare or just trying to stay in it, and he did. And he goes and gets his first win of 2025. Hurricanes get their first win of the season of 25 as well. And now you're talking 23-13-2 to start 2025. And honestly, just a big win from the Hurricanes. But, talking about Pyotr Kochetkov, his performance was really huge. And outside of that, what else stood out in the game for the Hurricanes' first win? Well, if you stick around, we'll go over that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said at the end of segment 1, what stood out for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight in their 3-1 win over the Florida Panthers? But how about their 3 stars? We'll start off with these guys. How about Brent Burns getting, the 3rd star of the game? Of course, got the goal, very huge to kick the game off. Jacob Slavin's 2nd star, well, it helps when you get the primary assist for the first goal, and you score a goal again. You also get score a goal as well to get the game winner. So, hey, there you go, a 2.9 for Jacob Slavin. Second C stands for clutch. And obviously, 1st star, Pyotr Kochetkov, because have a night, Pyotr the Great, a.k.a. the netminder. You're talking about a 26 save performance out of 27 shots faced. I mean, what more can you really ask for out of your netminder to come in? You can't blame him for the Columbus game where, they did score 3 goals on him, but all of them were hybrid power plays. You're getting ran over by your own defenseman, puck off the skate, you lose in a shootout. What more can you ask for? Then you turn around, come into 2025, you're facing the Florida Panthers, and he even said it himself. You're playing a team that basically ran you out of 2 different buildings, 6-3 and 6-0. So this is a game they had to come in for, fired up and ready to go. He comes in, pretty much plays the most calm, cool, collected hockey I have ever seen out of him. No crazy plays, no wild poke checks. He just comes in, stops 26-27, does his job, shuts down the Panthers, and he gets his first win of 25 and helps the Hurricanes kick off 2025 in great style with the 3-1 win. So, I mean, what more can you really say about Pyotr Kochetkov just coming in, doing the job, and just shutting the door, essentially? Like, you can, like, the Florida goal where they had 2 guys right in front of the crease, nothing he can do about that. We basically have a defensive breakdown. So, honestly, the last 4 goals he's given up in the last 2 games, I would say maybe the first one against Columbus, but what can you really do when there's, you're down a man on a hybrid power play, which is just normal 5-on-4 because the guy was getting a stick. I would say there is no goal that you can blame him in the last 2 games. Out of the 4 total, I say 0 are his fault. So being able to come in, yes, you give up a goal in the first couple minutes, about 2 minutes and 17 seconds into the second period. Other than that, you basically hold the fort and get the job done. So, I mean, awesome game by Pyotr Kochetkov. Nothing you really ask for out of that. He just comes in and gets the win and does it in a fashion where you're like, okay, Frederick Anderson's supposed to come back mid-February, early, March. You got Justin Jakarski as your backup. I mean, right now, I think goaltending's in a really good spot. I know some people might say, well, he might have given up a couple of soft goals here and there throughout December and November. You look at around the league, a lot of the best goalies are doing the same thing. Andrei Vasilevsky, Igor Shesterkin before he went on IR has really had some bad games as of late. I mean, Jeremy Swayman kind of started slow. So, I mean, you're talking about good goalies that have been having tough games, and Pierre Kochetkov is just one of them. But honestly, like when you look at a performance like that where you stop 26-27, I think goaltending for the Hurricanes is pretty in a good spot. It's just now you want to look for a more of a consistent play from the guys out front. I mean, also too, like what more can you really ask out of a group that's now gone from Jack Drury to Tyson Jost to Juha Jääskä? And nothing against Jääskä, but you weren't expecting him to come up and make his NHL debut January 2nd. Which, I mean, nothing more you can do for that. And hopefully Tyson Jost, wishing a safe recovery for him. Sounds like he might be out long term. We're not sure how long, but definitely enough to where they have to do another call-up from Chicago. Now, Jack Drury's supposed to be back relatively soon, maybe another week or two, so that'd be good to get him back in the lineup. You know, hopefully Shane Gostisbehere's not out too long, but Ty Smith has done pretty good overall, so you'll take that. And I know Riley Stillman got reassigned to Chicago, so a lot of roster moves as of late from the Carolina Hurricanes. So, I mean, got to do what you got to do. But overall, man, you're liking what the team has done so far. You know, tough loss against Columbus, but hey, you got a point out of it. You go into Florida, get your revenge win, and you do it too on a night where it's Jordan Staal on the second line and, you know, as the second line center, Kotkaniemi the third line center, which very different from the morning practice lines where you're kind of you see the normal lineup. But Rod Brind'Amour does say in the post game, which we will hear in a second, talking about, Florida gets the second change. You know, they're going to maybe try to avoid the third line of Staal, Martinook, and Carrier. And honestly, it was kind of a smart move by Rod to put Staal up there in the second line because it's like, okay, well, if you want to face all three of our guys, fine. You'll still get to face one of them on the second line, and you face the other two on the third line. So you kind of made it even. So looking at that, I see this a huge move by Rod, and that's a big, 500 IQ play to be able to be like, okay, Florida's going to try to find a way to stay away from their third line with their big guys. Split your big guys up. And now it's like, okay, it doesn't really matter who you face because you're going to face two of them on the third line. And you got your main face-up guy in Jordan Staal on the second line. Yeah, you're not going to avoid the big boys from Carolina in terms of the forward core. That's for sure. Another guy who stood out, how about Sean Walker, man? He has been absolutely on fire for the last couple weeks. Absolutely puts a nice, clean body check on a Florida Panthers player. Puts him right into the boards. I mean, just – and the fact that he also gets into like a little jawing match with AJ Greer and was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Definitely not afraid to get in guys' faces. And he has thrown the body a lot. His defensive game has gotten so good. And I talked about the last episode with Brad. It takes defenses a little bit longer to get going, defensemen to get used to the system. And Sean Walker's no different. We saw from Shane Gostisbehere in the few games they played with the Hurricanes when they first traded him a couple seasons ago. It took Brent Burns a little while as well. But now you see, Sean Walker's taken about, a little over 30 games, I would say, over the last couple weeks, ending 2024, going into 25. He's been playing some great hockey as of late. And that definitely showed in this game. And the fact that, you add Ty Smith to your defensive line, they've both been playing seamlessly well together. And they've been playing phenomenal hockey as a pair. And just you can tell that the confidence in Sean Walker's only but growing. And you just love to see how his play has been. So definitely excited to see what else Sean Walker can do for the Canes. But honestly, a great night by a lot of guys who definitely stood out, that's for sure. So it's definitely a good sign that, the Hurricanes won on January 22nd, 2024 against the Rangers 6-1. Now January 2nd, 2025, they go and beat the Florida Panthers 3-1. Safe to say, January 2nd is a good day for the Carolina Hurricanes to get a one to start a new year. So you love to see that. But overall, great game, great team win. And I know Rod's got to be happy about that. And speaking of Rod Brind'Amour, we get to hear his post-game press conference. So stick around as we'll listen to that and give my thoughts on it here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Once again, that's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to jump into the Rod Brind'Amour press conference and get his thoughts on the game overall, guys that stood out, and just overall the total team win against the Florida Panthers. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now.
Off this calendar year with a win in this fashion, what were the biggest things that you noticed that made this one possible?
Well, let's start right. Our first period was really good. Probably should have been up by more than one, just the way we were playing. And they were going to have their push. They're too good, and they did. They got back into the game. But I thought we stuck with it. I mean, obviously we had a couple big saves, which we need, right? That's the crucial part. It kept us in the game there, and then we got the go-ahead goal. So overall, I thought it was just good, solid 60-minute game, which we've played the last little stretch here. It's just we haven't been getting that one play here or there to push us over the top, and tonight we did.
And you hinted at it, obviously, a goaltending duel going on across the ice. In terms of Pyotr Kochetkov, how much of an impact do you think it made with the team being able to feed off those?
Well, it's huge because, listen, they got in there a few times and, it's the game. I mean, he made a couple huge saves. And that's just, like I said, it's just, okay, we don't worry about it. They go in and all of a sudden now we're worrying about that mistake and the players worrying about that mistake. And it allows you just to keep moving on. And obviously it was the difference in the game tonight.
You're able to flip-flop Kotkaniemi and Stahl as well. Is there anything that you're seeing out there that you like just in terms of matchups?
I mean, it's a tough one when, they have a superstar player and you're, how they're trying to avoid our big guy. So it was just a different look and trying to get some sort of, a different matchup there, and also maybe jumpstart 37. We're trying to, get him to, be the player he is because we get him going, we're in good shape.
Slavin and Burns, 2 of the 3 goal scorers out there. How about Jacob's goal? I mean, what were you kind of seeing from your perspective?
Well, we saw exactly what happened was we fall into the goalie, but then can't get out. And so, maybe that first shot had gone in, and maybe that doesn't get counted, but there's plenty of time for number one, let him out, and number 2, get the goal. He could have got set. So it was the right call. Obviously, they didn't even challenge it. So, again, that was the break that we needed tonight.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour of the Carolina Hurricanes, as always, for that. And you heard it from Rod, and definitely in terms of the matchup with getting Jordan Stahl on the second line and kind of swapping that around because it's one of those plays where you kind of have to find a different matchup to make sure that they have to deal with one of your big boys, and that is having Jordan Stahl with Svechnikov and Nichas because they're with the Panthers getting the second change. They're going to find a way to keep your superstar players away from the big guys who can definitely shut you down. So it's just a move that made sense for Rod Brind'Amour to kind of, okay, we got to split the centers up a little bit and kind of, have all the, have your big guys kind of split up throughout the roster instead of just on one line. And he does mention, too, about trying to jumpstart Andrei Svechnikov. And I've been kind of seeing this, too, a lot. It's the fact that they're trying to find a way, no matter what line he's on, to try to get Andrei Svechnikov going because they've had him on the top line with Aho and Jarvis, with Aho and Roslovic, having him on the second line with KK and Nichas, now Stahl and Nichas, and, see him on the fourth line with Drury and Blake. You can definitely tell that Rod is trying to find a way to get Andrei Svechnikov going, and Andrei's doing pretty well overall. I mean, he's top 5 in the points. Even Walt Ruff even mentioned it too on social media for the fact that you want to get him going because there's another gear or two that Andrei Svechnikov get hit. And I feel like ever since his ACL tear, he's been kind of playing a little bit more hesitant hockey where maybe he is being a little bit physical, but he's not being that physical guy that you knew, a couple playoffs ago, where he's just laying bodies and stuff like that. Especially against when the Hurricanes played the Bruins, and he's just running guys over and stuff like that. So it's a weird thing where it's like you're not. It's like you're not seeing the Andrei Svechnikov that you kind of knew from a couple seasons before, pre-ACL tear. It's just you're seeing a guy who's playing a little bit more hesitant hockey. Like the confidence isn't truly there, which that happens to a lot of guys. Confidence and stuff like that can happen. I mean, he did have a 4-point night, against the Colorado Avalanche. So you're kind of thinking, you thought that would be kind of a kickstart game for him, but it's been he's been playing okay, not the greatest. You'd love to see more from him. So it makes you wonder, what is there more to it of why Andre isn't really playing to what you thought he could be? And you can definitely tell that, it's definitely Rod is trying to find a way to get 37 to get kick-started, because once he's going, like Rod said, then the Hurricanes are going to be even a better spot, because now you got to worry about the three-headed monster, basically a four-headed monster of Aho, Svechnikov, Nietzsche, and Jarvis. And that's not even talking about your, Swiss Army knife, your secret weapon in Jack Roslovic right now, who's got 17 goals. So it's like you almost can have a five-headed beast going in almost every game with those five guys going. So if they can figure out what's going on with Svechnikov and get him running, I think that the Hurricanes are going to be in a lot better spot than what they are now. And honestly, they're playing pretty well. I mean, now you're really secure into your third-place spot in the Metro Division. Now you're 23-13-2. You start 2025 off with a great win. Total team effort against the Florida Panthers, the defending Cup champions. And you basically go to South Florida and take care of business. Yeah, you caught a break with that second goal, but honestly, it wasn't for Bobrovsky standing on his head, that game could have been 2-3-0 after the first period. So and Rod said, they're having effort in all these games. It's just some unfortunate bounces just don't go their way, and it's they're on the bad end of puck luck to the other team. So also, the last couple of games, the Hurricanes have been playing really well. Do you wish they were both wins? Yeah, but hey, you took 3 points out of these last 2 road games, so you'll take that. Now you get to come home and take on the Minnesota Wild next on Saturday and go from there on a back-to-back. You got them, and then you got Pittsburgh on Sunday. So, just what happens from there is going to be the big question. But overall, great total team win. You love to see it from the Hurricanes. They're back in the win column, doing it in a great style, especially against the defending Cup champs. Goals from Burns, Slavin, Nietzsche. Fantastic game from Pierre Kachekov, stopping 26 of 27. Guys, that will wrap up a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. For your second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at @OneSureZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I have link trees in both my bios where you can find my articles over at the Hockey Writers, or just go to the hockeywriters.com, search Zach Martin, and you can find my author page over there. If you want to check out my other podcasts, well, just go to all podcast platforms and YouTube and look up The Searchcast. For this podcast, well, Google, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, check out Locked On Fantasy, Locked On Hurricanes. Make sure to subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star rating review, because if you do, I might just read it on the podcast. For YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show, hit the thumbs up button, let me know if you like the podcast as well. Share it with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. Hope everyone enjoyed the Friday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend, as we have 2 more Hurricanes games to kick off the first weekend in January. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.